Hi, I'm Jonathan M0JSX, and a few weeks ago I put a community post out saying that I want to start this series of sort of question and answer videos. And it's taken me a little bit longer to get around to making this video than I perhaps would have liked, but my plan is to try and do these maybe every 2 to 3 weeks and answer a few questions that you may have about pretty much anything in amateur radio, if I can answer it. Let's start with this question from John, who said, I'm taking my foundation exam on Friday. Well, that was a few weeks ago, so I hope you passed and I hope everything went well, John. My question, what are the pros and cons of all the various logging portals that are out there? I'd like to start off with the right one rather than change a few weeks in. A paid version is fine if it's considered the route to go. Not an easy question, but could make a video. Well, let's see. So it's an interesting question, John, whether you're talking about logging programs or logging packages in terms of something in the cloud. Now, I happen to use Station Master from Stu, G5STU. So if we just, if I can remember the URL, sm2.station-master.online. So this is what I use. I use the desktop application, which is pretty much looks the same, but I use Station Master. I really like it. It's not free. It is a paid option, but in terms of what it does, it's like having a mini contest every day, to be honest with you. So I really like it. It has nice integrations with pushing to other services, so pushing your QSOs to other services. And what I mean by that is that it's highly likely that as you start logging and as you start having more and more QSOs, you might get asked the question, are you on Logbook of the World? Can you confirm on QRZ? Can you confirm on EQSL? And all of those various services. There's not a particularly right or wrong option there. Station Master, though, does make it easy in the fact you go and create those accounts everywhere. You give the details to Station Master. Then as you're logging with Station Master, it's pushing out to everything else. The exception there is Logbook of the World, which is a manual process, but Station Master, again, makes it really easy to do. Maybe we'll do a full in-depth video on that in the future. The other thing I pay for is an XML subscription to QRZ.com. And the reason for that is it means that if, when I'm logging, for instance, in Station Master, although at this point it's kind of a bit logging software agnostic, if I type in a call sign, so let's type in M0AAA, which I happen to know is the Reading District Amateur Radio Club call sign. But not only is it going to pull up the QRZ.com page if I want it to, I can also pull up the same thing on Station Master, but crucially it's filling in the name for me up here. So I can easily find out someone's details, which is really handy if you've seen me do a live stream and when I've typed in a call sign of someone who's calling me and I've never worked with them before, but I'm still able to say, oh, hiya, Jeff. It's because that information is being pulled in from QRZ.com. It's a really handy feature that you can only get by having a subscription, an XML subscription to QRZ.com. The other thing that on QRZ.com, which is free, you don't have to pay for, but is their logbook, as I alluded to. So again, because everything for me is handled by Station Master, my logs, when I hit enter on Station Master, gets pushed through to Station Master Cloud, which then pushes it out to QRZ.com, with a few other services as well. So that's my recommendation. It's not the only logging platform out there. It's the one I use. It's the system I use that I quite like. Previously, I used Log4OM, which works very well, although my Shack PC is not particularly powerful because it's an old Dell laptop. And I found that it was struggling a bit to run Log4OM pretty well, and Station Master runs a lot better, runs a lot smoother on this hardware. That's my personal experience with it. Things I've used in the past, I have in the past used Ham Radio Deluxe, although that is a long time ago before it was a paid option, but that also exists as well. But say, what I use is Station Master, and then also have a subscription to QRZ.com as well. Thanks for your question, John. Let's move on to the next. So next up, we've got a question from Mick. Now Mick actually sent through a few questions, and one of his questions is quite similar to the next question I'm going to do. But here is one about Coax. He's got a chimney on his roof and he wants to place an antenna. He wants to go for a Diamond X50. Good choice. I feel that the cable run is going to be around 10 to 12 meters. What's the best coax to run to this? And what would be the lowest coax you'd recommend? And maybe an in-between option. Okay, so VHF, UHF in terms of coax is quite an important choice. Now, over 10 to 12 meters, you're probably not going to necessarily be worried too much. You're going to go for something decent. So at a very minimum, I would probably recommend something like RG213. Simply because it's an old faithful, everyone knows 213. If we just go to the Moonraker website and pull up RG213, we can find that it costs, how much does it cost per meter? I'm not quite sure these days. Come on website, right. £1.65 a metre for mil spec 213. So that's a pretty good option, to be honest with you. You can get a drum for 79 quid nearly. Yeah, as a minimum option, RG213. However, it's a bit thick. It is a 10mm coax, so that's something to bear in mind. Of course, you're going to have to buy the connectors as well and put them on yourself. I'm very much a fan of the Messi and Poloni coax. So rather than 213, what I would probably go for, in fact, what I did go for the V2000 on my chimney here was Ultraflex 10 from M&P. So let's just pull it up on the Martin Lynch & Sons website. Here it is. It has gone up in price, I have to say, since I last bought any. £3.49 a metre. It is the same external diameter as RG213, but it's double insulated, double coated. So you've got a braid and you've got a foil and a foam dielectric. It works brilliantly. Of course, again, you're going to need to buy the plugs as well. The M&P plugs, though, are a dream to fit. So, yes, you can buy pre-terminated lengths from MLS, and yes, you can also pay them to put the connectors on for you. Don't. Get your soldering iron out. You can do it yourself. Watch the videos. There's tons of videos online about how to fit the plugs. I think M&P have also done their own videos as well. They are a dream to fit. I recently put some of their new Evolution connectors, they call them, on a length of Ultraflex 7 that I bought at Newark. They are so easy to fit. The only thing is with the 10mm coax, or the 10mm connectors, is you get 2 of the centre pins in the packaging. That's because one is for Ultraflex 10, the other is for Hyperflex 10. Just make sure you get the right one. You'll know it's the right one if it fits snugly. If it either doesn't fit or there's too much wobble, you've got the wrong one. Try the other one. But otherwise, a fantastic cable, fantastic connectors to fit, and that's probably what I would actually go for personally. If you've got quite a bit of money to throw at it, then you could go for Hyperflex 13. It is nearly £7 per metre, but particularly at UHF is going to offer the very best of performance. And if you're going up to, let's say, 23 SEMS, for instance, if you're going for maybe an IC9700 with an antenna that's also going to do 23 SEMS, then you probably want to really consider Ultraflex or Hyperflex 13. So thanks for that question, Mick, and let's move on to our third and final question for today. Okay, finally, I'm going to sort of merge 2 questions together. One is from Mick, who the last question was from, and the other one is from William. So Mick asked, what would be the very minimum for a basic HF setup for a foundation license holder? Do I need an SWR meter, an antenna tuner, an amp, a dummy load, etc., etc.? Well, to answer this really quickly, Mick, it's going to be definitely a radio of some description, a power supply, certainly, probably an antenna tuner if the radio doesn't have one built in. SWR meter, possibly, but we'll come back to that in a second, and then antenna and coax for definite. But that's what you're going to need. I hesitated on SWR meter because our other question from William is, what's the best SWR meter to get? I'm looking for something that will cover most frequencies, ideally with SO239 connectors. I want something that will cover the UK 40, that's and SSB, so that's the CB frequency, so that's around 27 megs, as a few of my friends use these. Any recommendations would be appreciated. So when it comes to SWR meters, my favourite one is probably this one. It's the Nisai DG503, which is an uber reliable, sensitive SWR meter that's been around for a few years now. Will handle up to 200 watts, so really for most applications, for most times, it's going to be absolutely fine. It covers HF all the way through to VHF, UHF, so 77s as well. It's got 2 sets on the back, on the rear of the unit. It's got 2 sets of SO239 connectors, so tick in that box for you, William. The only downside, perhaps, over some other SWR meters is that it does need to be powered in order to work. There are other options which are completely passive, so they kind of, the meters move, old analog meters move just by the RF going through them. This does need to be powered, but you've probably already got a 12 volt power supply that you're using in order to power your radio, so it's just a case of wiring up the SWR meter at the same time. Less than 100 quid, you can't really go wrong. There is also now a DG503 Max, I believe, for how much is that? About 40 quid more. The difference, as I understand it, is that the Max has a Max button, which enables you to measure PEP, and also enables you to measure TDMA, so that's basically DMR. Otherwise, if you don't need those, just go for the standard one. You'll be fine. If you want something more analog, then I would probably go for one of the Daiwas, if I can spell it. The CN901 series is brilliant. They typically, though, don't do everything. So, for instance, if we just go for the standard 901, we'll cover all of HF, so 1.8 through to 200 megs. It is cross needle. It will do PEP when powered. If it's unpowered, it won't. And it will handle up to 3 kilowatts of power through it, but it is £190. But they are kind of the gold standard in analog meters. So a couple of options for you. I would, as I say, my personal favourite is the Nisai, and that's the one I'd go for. Well, thanks very much to everyone who has asked a question for this video. We'll do another one of these in a couple of weeks' time. If you want to ask a question and have my advice on something, all you need to do is email questions@m0jsx.radio, and I'll do my best to answer. If you've liked this video, there's a like button specifically for that. If you haven't, there's another button that seems to work just fine too. And if you haven't already done so, please do click on that subscribe button, and also click that notification bell and you'll be told whenever I upload a new video. There's another video coming up over here that the algorithm thinks that you might like next. Until next time, 73. Bye-bye.